Hey everyone, so it's been a while since I did a video, but this was something that was really on my heart, and I actually had to really think about whether I wanted to share this or not, because it's quite jarring. But I am here always to share about the truth, and I had a really disturbing dream last night, right? And let me just see what I wrote down. I already know what it's about, to be honest, so I'll just talk about it. But so one of the things is, like, I'm about joy, and I'm about living life, living in peace, living in gratitude, living in appreciation, understanding that challenge is always an opportunity, everything can be turned for good. I'm always about that, right? I'm always about goodness. I don't think we have to suffer in order to turn it into a great opportunity. I think that is a notion that is sometimes overplayed and can cause a lot more harm than good. And I do believe that everything can be turned for good, right? So it's not to judge any situation or beat yourself up or put any shame or condemnation or anything like that on your choices or anything like that. So what I wanted to talk about really was the dream that I had last night, and it was really jarring, right? Because your brain communicates in signs and metaphors, right? And the dream was that this lady had been assaulted by a man that was close to her, and it was really jarring, right? Because it was all graphic in the dream and everything. And then as the dream went on, it turned out to be her husband, and she'd had a child, and they were surrounded by friends and family, like they were eating in the restaurant or whatever. And then he looks at her, and she knows that it's time for her to meet the needs of this guy, right? And she doesn't want to, right? So anyway, so I'm telling you the dream so that I can explain the metaphor. So she goes, and he gets his satisfaction, and she gets her relief of just meeting his needs, right? Not something she particularly wants to do. But you can see the other people around her are all looking like, why are you not saying no? Why is no one standing up? Why is no one doing anything? And there's a couple of other girls in the dream, and it turns out that he's been drugging them and taking advantage of them as well, right? And this was really jarring, right? I mean, I'm imagining this on Full Spectrum, and I'm like, oh my gosh, God, it did make me. So when I say it made me laugh, it didn't make me laugh for any of those reasons. It was because I was on such a, I mean, my journey is amazing, right? I have so much bliss and so much peace. That when I got this information, this was a while back, that I was going to be walking with Melchizedek deck to bring people from the darkness to the light, I kind of was like, last night I was like, well, I don't think that's part of my mission anymore, because I'm just all like in the light, right? So it made me laugh a little bit, because clearly that's not true. It is still a big part of my mission, and recognizing that is really important. So to caveat this, right, God loves everybody, right? We're all included, right? There's unconditional love for all of us, even the people that you think might not deserve it, right? But he doesn't love what we do, right, when it hurts others or ourselves. So the metaphor from this dream, right, because I was asking, like, what is this about? And he was like, well, this is how I receive it, right? So it was like, well, without truth, the darkness has nowhere to go, right? Without truth, the darkness has nowhere to go, which means you don't make a different decision, which means you don't say no, which means the same cycles repeat over and over and over. It's a pattern. It becomes short-term relief, short-term fixes, right? But it leads to extreme pain. and it leads to long-term suffering for everyone, right? And we all have sovereignty, we all have free will, but it's really important to become aware, to live in truth, and to take aligned action. And sometimes that aligned action is having an uncomfortable conversation. Actually, many times it is, right? Or saying no in some sort. So so the other thing that I wanted to mention, because I just had so much information come through, right, was around our unconscious minds, right, and the fact that they lead us to a lot of short-term gratification or addictions or habits that don't serve us. And there's lots of different perspectives on this, right? But you've got to become aware. And this is why structure is so important. It's not rigidity, okay? Living in spirit is not rigidity. It's about being aware of what serves you and what doesn't. So I'll give you an example, right? An example of instant gratification is to be like, I am just going to have an ice cream because life is short and you're meant to live it. And so I'm just going to have an ice cream. It's fine. I'll sort that out tomorrow. And there's nothing wrong with having ice cream, right? Unless you're dairy intolerant or, it's not good for you in some way, right? But the point that I'm making is that small thing, that short-term instant relief that you're feeling, is it really just a one-off? Or do you do it more often than you think you do? Which leads me into my next story, right? After I had my first child, and everyone was telling me I needed to rest and recharge and eat halwa and all of this sort of stuff, I got into a habit of eating rich tea biscuits with milk, right? And every day I would relax with my rich tea biscuits with tea or milk or something like that. And my mind would be like, oh, you've only had 3 or 4. But I noticed that like I was putting on weight and I just like something wasn't right. So I made myself an Excel spreadsheet and it literally tracked what I was eating every single day. Because instinctively I knew something didn't quite tally. And it turns out I was having like 10 to 20 rich tea biscuits a day, right? So that gave me the awareness to stop that habit, right? And it really was to let it go. And that's what healing is. It's about letting go of the things that don't serve you, but in a way where you can let it go, right? Because some people go from direct changeover to just they cut the habit out completely, right? And some people have a transition process. I'm a bit of both, right? So some things I had to cut out completely, like alcohol, I had to cut it out completely, right? Because it just, I couldn't say no to it. But in terms of like, other things, it's been more of a learning process and it's been more of a transition. And neither of them are right or wrong, right? It's not about being rigid and it's not about copying what others do. It's about understanding and having your own awareness so that you can make good choices, right? For yourself and for the people around you. So this is kind of coming back full circle now because I remember a little bit more about the dream. Like the bit around drugging people to take advantage of them is literally what our institutions do. Oh my God, like, and the thing is, like, we're not supposed to have resentment or anger. We do come from a place of unconditional love, but it is up to us to make a different choice. And oh gosh, like I got an email yesterday that said, we want you to take part in this prayers with, and there's all these leaders like the Dalai Lama and the Pope Francis and someone else, right? It's been advocated. But, like the Vatican has got hundreds and hundreds of accusations of child sex abuse. The pharmaceutical industry, with COVID in the last 2 years, is outrageous. It's outrageous what they've done. And they've now, like, sudden death syndrome, what's it called? Sudden instant death syndrome. The statistics have gone through the roof, right? If you look at them, and you have to go to the right sources. I'm trying to find the actual source of the link that the guy, was reading out in Australia, particularly in Australia. And you can see this with professional sports people, right? Especially with professional footballers and things like that, just dropping dead. And without the truth, the darkness is nowhere to go, right? So if we don't say no, if we don't make different choices, these institutions that have given themselves the authority and have given themselves the power, you are constantly giving your power away to them all the time, right? And it's not, it's for some people it's a transition, and for others it's a straight no, right? And I know loads of people that just didn't take the vaccine and were like, no, right? And as a result, the government's had to back off. Although saying that there is another stage of the plan. And the good news is that when you know about the plan, you are able to get in front of it. And once you get in front of it, you can make different decisions and take different aligned action to do different things. So where is it in your life that you give your power away to? And when you do the work, like, is it just for you, or does it include everyone around you? Which is kind of ironic in a way, right? Because you do have to make sure that you're self-regulating. You do have to make sure that you are whole from within. You do have to make sure that you have a kind of relationship with goodness, right? With light, with truth, so that you can go out and make a difference. But the whole point is that we're supposed to be working in harmony together, in collaboration with one another. So it's not to judge each other, condemn each other, put shame, blame, or belittle each other. It's about literally learning these lessons and then letting go of the extreme pain, right? Letting go of the short-term pain so that we can come together and make much better choices for ourselves, for others at large, and, have short-term pain so that we can have long-term pleasure, right? And this has brought me actually to the other story. I wrote all of this down, by the way, but I remember it. When I was working with my son, because he was flagged for autism, and not many of you were with me, right, when I was going through that, and the sort of things that he used to do, there's no sign of them anymore. So, I mean, there was one that flagged up this week, but generally speaking, the rest of them, there's no sign of them. Like, he would pour milk on the floor, or, he would grind his teeth at night, or he would have aggressive behavior where he would, pull on my steering wheel in the car, and, lots of those kind of things. And I remember when I was going through it, because I was really learning about emotional connection. I was really learning about seeing him for who he is, and not for the rigid system that everyone's trying to squeeze him into, right? And really understanding about the bridge of connection and things like that. But one of the things that they said was, you go through short-term pain for, like, long-term recovery, right? So you might do things that are different. And to be honest, a lot of those things that you do, you actually keep because they're really good, right? And you might make decisions in those moments that seem like wild, right? Seem crazy to the masses. But those decisions and those things that you've done have a long-term impact. And I do believe in the physical healing of the body, right? I do. I believe our bodies are so powerful. I believe that we haven't even tapped into who we are yet, right? We don't understand the doors and the gates and the portals and all of that. We just don't. We're not at that level. And if we, to be honest, if we were to be given the power of love, we would destroy ourselves anyway, right? Because it's just unfathomable. But so coming back to the point was, like, one of the things that I decided was to cut gluten and dairy out of his diet when he was younger. To be honest, I would have kept going with it, but but you know, life happens. And that actually healed his chronic diarrhea within the space of a month. And he'd had it for, I mean, it was a long time. It was like 6 to 8 months. It was horrible. And I remember when I saw the child pediatric, she was just like, oh no, dairy and gluten have no impact, and you know, it's just toddler's diarrhea. It's not normal. It's not normal, right? As human beings, you're supposed to be healthy, which is another thing around our environments. Anyway, it is what it is, right? And we can sit here and get mad and resentful and try to be perfect and try and do everything right and, you know, like criticize each other and all of those things. Or we can accept it, acknowledge it, and then move to make good decisions in the way that works for us. So that we're learning, right? We're discovering, and we're moving into unconditional love, and really in knowing that nothing can actually hurt us. But we are on this planet, and while we're here, we're here to make it better for everyone involved. All right, guys, thank you. If you did watch all of this, thank you so much. And I will be back with another video later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.